All right, guys, Fabio Wardley versus Daniel Dubois have apparently set a date and a location for their much controversial rematch happening now later this year. It will be 5 months on from their first fight. It's going to take place October 17th at the Co-op Live in Manchester, reports are saying. And fuck me, 5 months on. 5 months on from that unbelievable brawl, slugfest, war that we saw. Like, that was one of the most brutal fights that I have ever seen. And for me personally, it is fight of the year. Like, that first fight, it's not the sweet science, all right? It's not beautiful boxing like Bivol versus Beterbiev. But when you talk about entertainment, when you talk about getting your money's worth to go and watch two guys go and have a fight, that was it. That brings eyes to the sport. It was an amazing fight, and like I said, it's probably between that one or Ball versus Figueroa for fight of the year. And for me, just the brutality of that first one takes the cake. But look, there's two things to talk about in terms of this rematch. One of those things is, how do we see the fight going? But the first thing I want to talk about is this the right decision? It sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. Like, it spells trouble, the fact that we're going to see a second installment of that war only 5 months after the first one. Like, we've seen some great fights that take 9 to 12 months to have a second fight, right? Where the fighters want a layoff. And we're talking about fights that aren't even as brutal as the one we saw. The fact that Fabio Wardley and even Daniel Dubois, all right, the fact is, Daniel Dubois, although he did smack around Fabio Wardley, like, Fabio Wardley got destroyed in that fight, Daniel Dubois still took a great deal of punishment. We're talking about heavyweight boxers. Daniel Dubois got knocked down twice within the first few rounds. Both guys took damage, but when you talk about the real damage taken, I'm sure Fabio Wardley spent a few weeks in hospital, at least a few weeks in hospital after that first fight. And the fact that both of these guys now want to go at it again 5 months later, it does sound like a bit of a disaster waiting to happen. I hope it doesn't. All right, I hope these two guys can go have an amazing fight and, neither gets hurt. But you can't tell me Fabio Wardley in 5 months has fully recovered, or, maybe even 80, 70% recovered from that first fight and the damage that he took in it. Like, that was a brutal, brutal fight. So the fact that Fabio Wardley's coming into this second fight 5 months later, it does spell a little bit of trouble for me. I do worry about how Fabio Wardley will fare in this fight. I think we'll see a very different Fabio Wardley. In my opinion, I don't believe that this fight, if it goes similar to the first fight, that Fabio Wardley's body will be able to continue. You saw an unbelievable feat of humanity in that fight, where Fabio Wardley, his heart and his will just kept driving him on. The fact that he didn't hit the canvas, he was still on his feet, taking that punishment, is unbelievable. I think in this fight, if Fabio Wardley starts going downhill a little bit and Daniel Dubois gets the ascendancy, I don't think we see the same punch resistance or go for his body. I think the Fabio Wardley body will shut down in this fight if it goes the same way, and I think we will see a quicker night. I think Fabio Wardley, a bit like what you see from AJ now these days. When AJ gets hit, he sort of just goes down. I feel like Fabio Wardley might have taken all the punishment he possibly could have taken in that fight, and that chin has to have weakened. I can't for a second believe that Fabio Wardley will be the same guy coming into this fight as he was the last fight. Now, how do I see this fight going as a total? I think Daniel Dubois doesn't have to probably switch up much at all. Maybe just be a little bit more switched on in the first few rounds. But his game plan from about round 3 onwards was perfect. All right, it was so good from Daniel Dubois. His boxing skill, in and out, all right, of the pocket. I thought his movement was so good. Watching that right hand from Fabio Wardley, making him miss and then countering off it, and then pressing forward when Fabio Wardley got hurt. I thought the Daniel Dubois game plan was very, very solid after about round 3 on. So I don't think there's much Dubois has to change up, apart from start a bit quicker, be a little bit more alert coming into the fight than he was. He got caught a little bit cold in those first few rounds. Realistically, it's what can Fabio Wardley do to change the outcome? Many people would believe that there's nothing Fabio Wardley can do to change the outcome, and I can almost agree with that. I think Fabio Wardley coming into that fight, and you know what, he probably wasn't even coming into that fight. I think after the first 2 rounds, getting those 2 knockdowns the way he did, he almost turned into a one-trick pony. He just thought that it was going to happen. He just, from that moment on, from the first knockdown, all he did all night was continuously spam that right hand. That was his game plan. It was, I've knocked him down once. It worked against Justice Hooney. It worked against Fraser Clark. It worked against David Adelaide. I'm just going to keep spamming the right hand. This is all I'm going to do. It's all I'm going to do. It's all I'm going to do. And every time he threw it, Daniel Dubois just stepped back, let it miss, and then bang, jumped on top of it. So it's really, what can Fabio Wardley change up? Now, for me, Fabio Wardley, as much as you say, all right, you can't just rely on that right hand is the thing that wins you the fight, but you have to mix it up. And I hope that makes sense. It's that right hand is the make or break for Fabio Wardley. Fabio only wins this fight if he can land that right hand. But he can't just throw that right hand. He needs to use his jab well. He needs to use some boxing skill. I don't think it's anywhere near the level of Daniel Dubois, and that got found out in the first fight. But I think there's a level between, Fabio Wardley, using that right hand, but also mixing in some boxing skills, because he did box very, very well against Joseph Parker. All right, he did box very, very well against Joseph Parker, but I think he needs to clean up the defense a little bit. Don't spam that right hand. Build into it. Try and get in a little bit close. Use that jab. All right, feint Daniel Dubois, and then make sure that right hand lands, because he exerted so much energy in that fight, missing right hands, and then he was getting counted off him. If you're gonna throw it, make sure it lands, or else keep it locked. Just keep it locked there. Feint it. And then, like I said, I think Fabio Wardley has a very, very good jab, but he needs to just make some smaller changes coming into this fight. It doesn't have to be anything major. You're not going to reinvent Fabio Wardley. It's just getting the best out of his skills. And his skill is that right hand, but that right hand's only his skill if you can land it. In that first fight, after about round 3, he couldn't land it. So, look, I'd love to hear what you guys think of this. We're going to talk more in depth about this fight as we get closer, but I think it's the wrong decision. I think Fabio Wardley is, you know who Fabio Wardley is. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He is he's got that will, he's got that drive, he's got that competitiveness. Everything that we love about him, but you've got to be smart with it. I don't think this is a smart decision. I think this is a silly decision. I think Fabio Wardley could have banked on waiting just another couple of months and then says, all right, now we're going to run it. I think jumping straight back in, I think it's a disaster waiting to happen. I don't think we're going to see the best Fabio Wardley or anywhere near it 5 months on. And I think that's going to be a reflection in the fight. Look, we're going to have to wait and see. I can't wait to see Fabio Wardley back in the gym and some clips around it, see his mentality and face-offs and stuff like that. We're going to talk about it more. But early doors, I think it's the wrong decision. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like, subscribe. I'm out of here, guys. See ya.